Hi, this is R.N. Bhaskar from BKBB, which is an acronym for Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein. And this channel brings to you every week policy analysis, corporate stories, and an occasional conversation. But at this time, at 8:50 in the morning, we come to you with daily news on every weekday. Except that we're not just news. We pick up the best headlines that we think are important, and we look at news behind the news. We try to give you something more than what other people give you, and our own analysis. And if you like what we're doing, please click the like button. If you're not subscribed, please click the subscribe button. But most of all, tell your friends, tell your associates about us, because we like our numbers to grow, even though right now we've crossed the 30,000 mark. And today I am joined by my co-anchors, Katya Naidu. Katya, welcome. Good to have you. And we have Anurag. Good to see you, Anurag. And today we're going to discuss three titles, both Indian and international. And the three titles, the first one, of course, is on the US. Globally, it's a US which is making a lot of difference to trade and commerce, and how the US has faced its largest trade deficit in recent years. The second story is an Indian story which talks about how the government suddenly decided to have the caste census. And the third is a very interesting story by Katya, which is on how India has discovered that concert economy is a wealth multiplier. And we'll take all the three. Let's begin with the first story. The first story is interesting because of two reasons. One of the largest investors in the world, Mark Mobius, has said that I'd rather sit on 95% of my wealth in cash. And why did he say that? He said that because these are uncertain times and no investment makes sense. The markets are choppy, the scenario is turbulent, and nobody knows what's going to go up or down. So he prefers cash. And why is the scenario uncertain? Look at the chart on your screen. It'll tell you that the US, after 22, has suffered its first decline in GDP. The markets have shrunk. Its trade deficits are widened. And why have the trade deficits widened? Because Trump's tariffs have actually changed the way the markets work. US merchandise trade deficit unexpectedly widened in March to a record high. And companies which decided to import goods in advance of the tariff deadline will cause USA to report a higher trade deficit in the coming quarter, because in the last quarter, they actually imported in advance. You may see the economy shrinking too. And then again, the shortfall in goods trade grew about 9.6% quarter from a month earlier to 162 billion. And that in turn prompted several economies to start downgrading their forecasts. And the irony of everything, at a gathering yesterday, Trump said his first biggest wish is to become the Pope. What an irony. Mixing the sublime with the ridiculous. A man who wants to be a Pope, supervising the largest massacre in the world, ethnic cleansing and genocide. The US has become the center of too much that is contradictory, that is absurd, and that is frightening. Anyway, that was my story. Let's go to the second story, which is equally interesting, and that is Anurag on the government's decision to allow caste census. Anurag, could you have your story?
Sure. Good morning. Today's report is about the Union Cabinet's decision to include caste enumeration as part of the next decennial census exercise, which will be conducted this year after being postponed for 4 years from 2021 due to COVID. Unlike the 2011 socio-economic caste census, which was done outside the purview of the census exercise and did not mandate caste disclosures, this time it will be enumerated in the second and final phase of the census. To give you a small history brief, the first detailed caste census was conducted in 1871 and 72 in attempt to classify various groups and was conducted across four major regions: the northwestern provinces, the central provinces, Bengal, and Madras. And the last time it was conducted was pre-independence, that is in 1931, where 4,147 castes were identified, and in the socio-economic and caste census of 2021 and 2011 identified over 46.7 lakh caste subcaste with 8.2 crore acknowledged errors in the data, where accuracy isn't the only challenge that could be faced in the coming census, caste census. One other major challenge with this approach that is reported in one of the Hindus publishing last year talks about the proportional representation in reservations, where the reserved posts are determined by dividing 100 by the percentage of reservation allotted to the reserved category. For instance, since the reservation for OBCs is 27%, every fourth position in a sequence of vacancies would go to OBC candidates. Similarly, a SC candidate would get every seventh position, an ST candidate every 14th position, and every economically the backward, the weak candidate would get a 10th position. The table that you see on your screen right now illustrates the challenge of implementing proportional representation at the individual caste level. Consider a hypothetical caste rank last with a population of just 10,000, which accounts to 0.0007% of the total population. For this caste to secure just one reserved vacancy in an institute, at least 1,40,845 positions would need to be advertised. Using the UPSC as an example, which typically advertises around 1,000 vacancies annually, it would take 141 years to get a single vacancy, to get a single candidate hire. Other major question is with the caste census could be this census could fuel the current social and disparities based on religions. How does it promise to harmonize communities and push the idea of unity? What's your take on this, sir?
Anurag, a very, very valid story and some valid concerns. What is sad is that the government since 2011 has not bothered about the major census. It has announced a caste census without clearly specifying when the major census will be held, which means all economic planning in India is being done on the basis of 2011, 2010 numbers. That is one problem. The second problem is you need to start recodifying the way you want to benefit the backward classes with better inputs in the beginning and fewer reservations at the top level to make sure that the best talent comes to the top and deals with public services. These are issues that are all linked to caste, and India will have to grapple with it if it really wants to become a Viksit Bharat. India does not like numbers. India does not like policies that are actually fair and economically viable. And this is the result of that mess. But thank you, Anurag. Very, very valid story. Thanks a million. And now we have a very interesting story from Katya. Let her explain. Katya, could we have you?
Even though the economy's mood is really bad and somber, there's something to actually dance about. So this is a recent report that ENY has come up with, which says that the Coldplay concert in India has generated a whopping 641 crore, 15,000 jobs, and then this includes tickets, hotels, travel, event business, even the GST that is made from these events. It is a large number. It's a very large number for a few day event. And the second thing is, for every 100 rupees that's spent on tickets, 585 into services include hotels, travel, the dining that people who come from other places have taken place, etc. So India had a very interesting year in to 2024 in terms of concert. There were 70 to 80 concert days, and as many as 10,000 people have attended. I just want to point out that this concert economy is a part of the experience economy, which is actually not slowing down with the slowdown. So I'll tell you what. So, to travel and hospitality is the only consumption trend that has stayed on from post-pandemic boom and bust. A lot of consumption trends, including apparel, clothes, jewelry. A lot of things have fallen. A lot of consumption of these things have fallen down. Even wedding and festival shopping has fallen down, but travel has not fallen down. So that is also a part of the experience economy that Gen Zs seem to be driving. They actually spend as much as on experiences like movies, plays, music festivals, etc., as much as they spend on rent or utilities. So it's a very, very big trend for them. And BNPL is also enabling a lot of it. A lot of Coachella tickets were purchased by BNPL. Just want to add one more point, that the infrastructure for these concerts is not very good. If you remember right, A.R. Rahman's concert had a lot of infrastructural issues. And second thing was, Diljit Dosanjh, a popular Punjabi singer, had also pointed out that India doesn't have an infrastructure for this. So what do you think, sir? We should invest more to enable a lot more of these?
Thank you, Katya. A very valid question. If India has to grow and India has to become, in Modi's word, Viksit Bharat, you need to generate money. You need to generate jobs. Entertainment is the largest revenue generator in the world.
Mm,
India does not realize that its bans and its censorship and it's saying no to this and no to that. It's learned to say no more often than it has learned to say yes.
but
You don't grow by.
infrastructure is also an
And
issue.
infrastructure is terrible.
Mm,
Infrastructure is terrible. You need good roads. You need good petrol. You need good policing,
mm,
crowd management.
right.
All that is infrastructure.
Mm,
And you need quick dispute resolution.
right.
I bought a ticket and the ticket doesn't work. I need that also. But yes, India does not understand how to make India rich and prosperous. Entertainment is a surefire way. But thanks, Katya. It's a brilliant story. Thank you very much. And that brings us to the questions that people have started posting in. And the first question that's come in is, will India be developed by 2045? Let's hope so. We all are staying in this country. Those who could move out have started moving out with their feet. But for the sake of the next generation, we hope India becomes developed. We hope society as a whole can remain more harmonized, and we hope that myopic bans will also stop. India has potential. Can be very great. But will it be great? It depends on policy decisions and not on individuals alone. And if the policy is right, individuals become very productive. If the policy is bad, I don't have to say more. And the second question is it dangerous to have caste census? No. Having a caste census is not dangerous. Information is always useful. It's good to know the various sections of classes that exist in India, so your demographics for delivering social justice can be planned more carefully. And the biggest social justice that needs to be planned is making sure that food and clothing goes there. And most important, education at the primary levels. That is what makes a country great. And our primary education has collapsed. Caste census is good because you know where and who must get these benefits. Nothing wrong with that. And then US has contracted. Will that affect the world? Yes, of course it will affect the world. US, when it creates these barriers, it stops free trade. And the world has grown rich in the last 50 years, 70 years after the Second World War. Because of free trade, you're destroying the very steps that made the world grow. It's a regressor. And thank you very much for watching. This brings me to the end of today's session. Keep your questions coming in. We'll take a few constantly. And yes, do remember to tell your friends about us. Click the like button if you like this program. And if you're not subscribed, please click the subscribe button. We like to grow, and you want to make this program more meaningful for you and for the rest of the people around. Thanks again. See you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day ahead.